Hey everybody, welcome back to the Intentional Carnivore. I'm glad you guys joined us. If this is your first time with us, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so that you can be notified whenever we go live. And I would like to welcome Mr. Semi-Retired Bob to the show today. I'm happy to be able to speak with him. I'm glad he's here. Thank you for being here today, sir.
It's good to be here, Sean. I'm glad we finally got our schedules worked out so we can get together.
Absolutely. And for anybody that may not be familiar with who you are, you guys are in for a treat today. Would you please tell them a little bit about yourself and what how you came to carnivore, something like that?
Sure, I'll give you the abbreviated version because we want to have time for questions. And if I get going on that story, I could talk for a couple of hours. The short of it is I got kicked out of the Army in 1983 because I had gout. Got bad advice from the doctors at the time because everything they knew about gout as fact was false. My health slowly deteriorated over the next 40 years, culminating 5.5 years ago in a triple bypass surgery. And then 15 months ago now, I found the carnivore diet through primarily Ferrigno's Freedom and then Dr. Ken Berry. And I started the day before my 59th birthday. And since then, I've cleared up my type 2 diabetes. I've gotten rid of my fatty liver disease. My arthritis is 98% better. My spinal stenosis is 98% better. I've had not a single gout attack. And as a side effect, I lost 154 pounds.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I had that in my notes whenever you jumped in. I was like, highlight Dr. Berry's group and I wore my shirt just in honor of it tonight. So I was like, because that's where, I remember meeting you because we started generally about the same time. And I remember seeing Semi-Retired Bob in the chat or, in the comments. And I remember hearing that name. And then here we are a year later and, doing the thing. So it's always cool to join together and see you and talk with you. And, we share a lot of stuff kind of in common. And, what has been one of if you had to say the best things that you have experienced on eating this way? I know there's many, there's a ton, but like the number one best, if you had to take just that away, you would take that.
I'd have to say it's the unrealized until recently mental increases that I've gotten. It was my boss, the friend of mine who's been my boss for 30 plus years at the miniature golf course, that said it the best. He said, "You are absolutely a completely different person than you used to be." I didn't realize it at the time because I just slowly approached that to where I was basically just sitting on the couch waiting to die and was surprised every morning when I woke up. And now I jump out of bed in the morning ready to go do stuff. I'm working more at the miniature golf course than I have in the last 15 years. I'm walking every day. I'm doing all sorts of stuff, but the mental increase that is visibly visibly visible to my friends who are just astonished at what a different person I am now.
Absolutely. I put a lot of emphasis on the mental clarity as well. And coming from the depression, my story. I've shared it with you, did the video with you and in the last year of time, but that you just can't, there's something about being able to think clear and something about being able to function properly. And, because anybody who's been depressed or had mental, issues or mental fogginess for that matter, will understand, when you're not thinking clear, you're not thinking clear. And, it affects every other area of your life, so that's definitely a huge one. So how would you say that your journey has been affected since starting the YouTube? As far as like, how has it affected your life every day with the carnivore, good or bad?
Well, there's a little good and a little bad. I am busier now than I ever was when I was working for a living. But I don't think I would have continued. I would have continued the carnivore diet itself probably forever without starting without switching my YouTube channel over to a carnivore channel and doing all that stuff. But I don't think I would be as far along physically, because if I hadn't started that walking back in September, and I just started to record it. I don't know if you've ever seen my very first walking video, but I just walked down to the corner and back. It was about a 3.5-minute video and I was done. And they just kept getting longer and longer and longer. And people kept tuning in to see what I was doing. And it still amazes me that there are that many people that want to watch me walk every day. But they do, and it keeps me motivated to keep me pushing. And it was out on one of my walks. I think it was about halfway through October when I decided, at the rate I'm progressing, I can set a goal of through hiking the Appalachian Trail in 2025. And that's what my YouTube channel has done for me. But I don't know how you people work for a living anymore. I'm so busy with everything I do for YouTube that I wouldn't have time to go back to work if I had to.
That's definitely been a challenge for me, because I went back at the beginning of June and worked. I work remote, but I work from home, but I'm dedicated at least 8 to 8.5, 9 hours a day to that. Versus I was doing the YouTube thing starting out, and I was as I've explained to you, technologically challenged, so to speak, and so I'm learning this stuff and trying to figure all this stuff out and planning stuff, and then doing the work stuff as well. So I was staying up till 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning when I wasn't working, trying to get comments done and answered and respond to people and chat and stuff. So it's definitely a balance issue, and it's something that I've been trying to figure out myself as well. Over time, and find that balance. And finally, at some point, you just got to say, look, I got to take some me time. I'm taking this day. I'm not planning anything. I'm not doing anything. I'm just doing me, And my wife absolutely can help remind me of that.
Yeah. One of the things I've found that helps a lot, and I say this quite often on my channel, if you leave a comment on one of my videos, that I've read it by hitting the heart symbol that the creator of the video has. So I will always read comments and heart them. But if I tried to put a personalized reply to every comment on all of my videos, I would never get anything else done. So I heart every comment to let them know I have read it. And then those that need a specific response, like they've had a question or had something really good happen in their lives, I will then go back and comment on those. But I would never get anything else done if I had to personally reply to every comment on every video.
Yeah, I've definitely got to. I've always tried to do that, and that's something that I do kind of have to be mindful of as well, because I've been there's 2 or 3 videos that I've still got to edit as well. So let me ask you this. I want to make a comment on what you said a while ago. I want to go back to it about the walking. I've jumped into some of your walking. I jumped into one where, you had went walking a direction that you don't normally go. And you had made the comment, I don't normally go this way. I don't know where we're going to end up. I was like, don't get us lost, Bob. I always enjoy it. I think other people can relate, and the people, especially as I always mention in this community, are so supportive and encouraging, and for the most part, and so I think that definitely does help, and I'm sure it's helped you over time as well.
Oh yeah.
So what advice? What is some of the advice? And you guys, if you have a question, just put a Q by it. I know there's a few that have come in already that I've starred, and I'm gonna go back and hit those. But if you have any questions for us, you can go ahead and hit those up, and we will get to those. I'm gonna ask a few more things, and we'll get to some of your guys' questions today for sure. But what is some advice that you can give, to people who, regardless of their age, your age, my age, whatever, who's just starting this journey, who maybe are where we were a year and a half ago and are on the fence about it?
Well, I believe it was Albert Einstein, but it may not have been him that first said it, that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. If you've tried everything there is to try and you're still not seeing the results you want, give carnivore a try. You could probably hang by your toes from the rafters for 30 days, had to. But, so what is there to lose? You can do anything for 30 days. So just jump in, give it a try, and see what happens. The worst thing that can happen is nothing. But I think for 99% of the people watching this, you will find that something gets better in the first 30 days. And that will give you the motivation to try it another 30 days to see what else happens. I mean, I remember that first video that you were walking with Larry a year ago down in the sun. And to be honest, I thought you were going to keel over and die right there on the side of the sidewalk. But you made it, and you kept on making it, and look where you're at today. That's what I want everybody out there to realize, that if somebody like Sean can do it, or somebody like me can do it, because I'll be honest, I'm one of the laziest guys in the world. If I can do this, you can do this. So just give it a try. What have you got to lose?
Absolutely, 100%. I will agree with it. If I can do it, you can do it too. And I said that in that video, and it means as much today as it does then. Just like the shirts, I don't promote a lot of my stuff, because whether it's not about the promotion and the money and stuff. That always helps. I'm not gonna lie. However, it's the meaning of that stuff that means a lot to me, and the people that have invested in that stuff. Seeing people with that on, who understand what it means and buy into that and believe that means a lot, because that's something that, it's not just a cliche phrase that I use. It's something that has driven me for the last year. Keep pushing forward. No matter what, you're going to face those obstacles. You're going to face that, circumstances that are not ideal. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. But no matter what, you keep pushing forward. And as you just alluded to just, a second ago, motivation follows action. You put just a little action in, and you're probably going to find that, the definition of motivation is not exactly how it should be in the dictionary. That you put it, it's not what causes the action. It's the action that you put in that causes the propulsion forward. And you find that motivation to keep going by what you've done already. And I think that's huge for us. And if you could go back to day one on carnivore, is there anything that you would just tell yourself? Anything that you figured out? Any tips or advice, or just, hey, play this lottery or whatever?
I don't know that I would change anything, because I started off with what I could afford. I started off with ground beef and lunch meat from the deli counter, and Oscar Mayer bologna and Oscar Mayer all beef hot dogs, and pepperoni and salami and Spam, because that's what I could afford. And then as I started to get more money in my pocket, and how I got more money in my pocket is after things started to heal, I didn't have to go spend a pile of money at the pain management doctor's office every month. I did not have to, after all was said and done, I'm off 13 pills in the morning and 9 at night. That's a lot of money. I don't have to go to my doctor's office every month to get my blood work done. And I took all that money and started rolling it into buying more ground beef and more roasts and the occasional steak. So would I change anything? I can't really answer that. I don't know. I don't think I would change anything, because I think the experience of eating what I would consider not great carnivore, but the best you can afford, is really good information to have to pass on to somebody else who's sitting out there going, gosh, it just, because, let's face it, when we see people on the YouTube, like Dr. Sean Baker or Dr. Anthony Chafee, they're both wonderful people, but they always have these big, beautiful ribeye steaks that probably cost more than my house. I can't afford to eat like that every day. I can't even afford to eat like that once a month. And having that, the people that are watching see are like, man, that looks great, but I don't think I can afford to eat that way. But when they run into somebody like me or somebody like you that can tell them, hey, is bologna and hot dogs the best thing you can eat? No, but you can get results from that kind of stuff. And I think having that experience is worth the slower progression at the beginning, so that I can truly tell somebody, it may not be the greatest food in the world, but it's a heck of a lot better than a bag of Cheetos, and you will get results from it.
Amen. That's right. And that's one of the things that I emphasize that I heard from Dr. Berry whenever I found him over a year ago, was that initially hooked me onto listening more to him, was that he wasn't trying to sell me this grand, crazy, buy this program, invest in this pill, do this, and stand outside with this arm like this and this arm like this for 6 minutes, and then all these crazy things. It was so simple. It was so practical. And I think that is a much needed message. And when you have people like that, when you have people like yourself who want to genuinely pass on the message and help people like me, it's all about sharing the way of eating. You don't have to do it perfect. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be ribeye steaks every day. And fortunately for me, I actually got to where I just about do eat a ribeye every day, but that's all I eat. But it definitely didn't start that way. It was hamburger meat and whatever we could afford. I wasn't working, but you don't have to eat a ribeye steak. One of these, it's not the ribeye steaks, these big, huge things like you're talking about either. But I don't know where they get those things. They don't let me go to the shop where those things are sold, I guess. I got to figure that one out.
You gotta have a platinum card or above to get into those shops.
I hear you. Yeah, I don't have one of those. Not yet. I'm going to find out about that. I have to save up. But but it is definitely is encouraging, and definitely a much needed message to get that out and let people know, hey, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to do it, and you can't change until you change, and that's one good thing that I've definitely heard. Let's get to a couple of their questions. Miss
Sure.
Mama Bear Lynette, good to see you, my friend. She's got us 4 already waiting on us. That's awesome. Thank you. For us perpetual overeaters, what do you recommend for getting in touch with our satiety leptin signals?
I would say to start with, because I'm a perpetual overeater. I eat a ton of food. I love food. And as long as you're overeating the right food, I don't know that you can, as long as you're getting at least a 1-to-1 fat to protein ratio, or maybe even a 1.5 to 1. I know I hear people saying that 2 to 1 works for them. I think that's in my personal opinion, that's probably a little too much fat. I think most people are going to land somewhere between 1.2 to 1.6 to 1 on the fat to protein ratio. And as long as you're eating the appropriate amount of protein with the appropriate amount of fat, it's really hard to overeat fat. If you really think you're overeating, add more fat, because I won't say it's impossible to overeat on fat, but it's if it's the right amount of fat to protein, it is really hard. Because I mean, you can take one of my fatty roasts that I usually cook up like a steak, and I just had one a couple of days ago that was a little over 3 pounds. And that was one of the rare occasions that I did not finish the roast. I had, it wasn't a very big piece, but I had a little piece of it left. I stuck it in the fridge, and then I ate it a couple hours later because I just don't like to have leftovers in the fridge. But yeah, I would just say eat more fat and just eat and eat and eat. You might try the priming protocol that Steak and Butter Gang does. You can find out about that on Bart K's channel as well. Basically, it's stuff as much food in your face as you possibly can for 2 weeks to where you don't even want to look at another piece of meat. And then after that, your hunger may go down. But I wouldn't worry too much about it as long as, I mean, because, you know, like I said, I've eaten between 2.5 and 3 pounds of meat every day for the last almost 15 months. And I don't think I've been, I mean, if you counted it by the calories, I've probably been overeating every day, yet I still keep getting healthier and healthier, and my waist keeps getting thinner. So it must not be too much for me. That's what I've got. You got anything to add to that, Sean?
Well, I mean, I think you basically covered it. I mean, I think it's really easy for us to get into the mentality of, you know, if I want to lose weight or if I want to do this, you know, trying to manage our portion size by some a thought process outside of what like you know, you talk about the leptin and ghrelin hormones. As long as they're working correctly, and even if they're not, like you said, it's hard to overeat protein or fat. You know, protein makes me have aversion, like it makes me not want anything. Fat puts me in the restroom for a long time, even now. Now I do find now I'm actually, for about the last week, I have started eating 3 times a day. I have not eaten 3 times a day up until this point since the very beginning. Whenever I first started, I started eating 3 times a day because I heard, you know, Dr. Berry say, don't try to manage your portions, eat until you're full. I started eating 2 times a day whenever I started getting so full that that's all I wanted, and my body was happy with 2 times a day. And recently, my body is saying, hey, you need some more food. Go get something to eat. You're hungry. And I'm like, okay, you don't have to tell me twice. I'm going, you know? And so I have been eating 3 times a day for, it's probably been the last 3 or 4 days for sure. And I get full and I'm good. But I'm not used to that as far as eating 3 times a day. It's not that I plan to eat 2 times. I don't care if I eat 4 or 5 times a day, but I'm not gonna plan it. I'm not going to have an idea about, you know, I've got to eat this amount or, you know, those things. It's literally just when my body says, hey, you know, go have something to eat, you know, you're hungry, you're getting tired, you're getting weak, you're getting ill, whatever, then I'll go have it. Other than that, like I don't plan food like that. That's the only thing I really I can offer on that. Let's see what else. She said, what are your body is signals that tell you to eat more fat and protein? Yeah, it's the ghrelin and leptin hormones. Yeah, that is right. I said that right.
Yeah.
Leptin. Yeah. Okay. Ghrelin and leptin hormones is your satiety hormones. They're going to signal you. And sometimes, like as Dr. Berry mentioned, you know, many times on his channel, you know, when you first come to eat this way, they're not working properly because they're so warped from all the sugar and processed foods and junk food and overeating and burning through those carbs and sugar all the time that sometimes it takes time for those things to heal and work properly again.
Yeah. And what was the question? Yeah, body signals. Yeah. It just,
sorry. Right there.
One of the things that, Dr. Chafee talks about quite a bit is when you sit down to your meal, whether it be hamburgers or steaks or roasts or whatever, it's going to taste really good. And as long as it's still tasting really good, you should keep eating until you either get to the point where it doesn't taste good or you look at it and it's like, oh, I'm done. I don't want another bite. So I suggest that you always cook more food than you think you will eat so that you have just a little bit left over so that you can eat until you're comfortably stuffed. Because if you arbitrarily portion control, like with me, if I have a small roast that's only 2 to 2.25 pounds, I'll cook that up and eat it. And if I get done with the whole thing and it's like, I wish I had another, 4 or 5 bites of that, I'll go scramble up 4 or 5 eggs and eat those on top of it. And I'll just keep scrambling more eggs until I finally look at the eggs and go, I'm done. I don't want any more.
That's always a great go-to, and I'll get my wife. A couple of times I would get hungry at night like that, and or not at night, but in the evenings, and I would say she would be grilling some hamburger patties or ground beef or something, and I'd say, "Hey, honey, will you do me an egg over easy and put it on there and bring it to me?" I love it, just adding an egg to it here and there. Those things always hit the spot. So, Bob, how often do you eat fish, seafood, or chicken, or do you primarily stick with beef?
I primarily stick with beef. I almost never have fish, seafood. Every once in a great while, if they've got it on sale, I will order some from the grocery store or pick up a package of something frozen, or if it's on sale in the fresh department, I may pick it up. The big problem with fish and seafood for me is I live in Nebraska. I am as far from deep water as you can get. And fish, seafood, all that stuff is really expensive here. But on the flip side of that, I can almost daily get ground beef for less than $1.99 a pound. And I still have a couple of big pork butt roasts in my freezer that are, I think I paid $1.29 a pound for those, because I live in the feedlot capital of the world. I get a really good meat here, but there's no place to get fish and seafood in the middle of the high plains. We don't have any deep water here. I will occasionally get chicken if it's on sale. I like chicken legs and I like chicken thighs. I will occasionally get how you'll get a leg and thigh combination all as one piece in the grocery store, and you'll get like 4 of those. I will occasionally get those, but only if they're on sale, because if I'm going to pay $2.50 for chicken, I might as well pay $1.99 for ground beef.
Oh yeah, I can definitely tell the difference whenever I've had chicken or something like that. I do love some shrimp though. I don't know what it is about shrimp. I actually went to my the meat market this past week to get my get some steaks and stuff, and my butcher gave me 2 boxes of shrimp that he had saved back, and I was like, thanks, man. It was like ended up being like 5 pounds of shrimp, and I'm like, man, it's like Christmas today, and that doesn't happen, but I'm thankful for that for sure. I was like, I feel like I done hit the lottery today or something.
Yeah, I did have some shrimp. I had shrimp and andouille sausage for my 60th birthday meal. I bought a ring of andouille sausage and got that browned up, and then threw a 2-pound bag of frozen shrimp into it and just let it simmer in butter and garlic for about 30 minutes, and that's what I ate on my birthday. But that's the last time I've had anything other than beef. It was on my birthday back on May the 10th.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, hopefully, I know you travel a good bit. One day, whenever you get down this way, we'll have to get together and have some steak and shrimp. Passing through this area, I think you come this way in the fall, right?
Normally, I'm not going to be down that way this fall because I just bought a chunk of land down in Texas. So I'm going to Texas this fall to start working on that. And Texas, coming from Nebraska, it's here to Texas or here to South Carolina. And it's completely the wrong way.
The wrong way this time. Oh, let's see. So how would you measure fat and protein?
This is actually fairly easy. If you look at the piece of meat before you cook it, if it is about 1/8 of what you're seeing is fat and the rest of it is the lean muscle, that's a 1-to-1 ratio. So if the fat band or the marbling is a little more than that, then the fat ratio is a little higher. On leaner steaks, that fat ratio will be a little less. But yeah, if you just look at it and go, okay, it's about 7 fingers wide here, and that fat thing is about 1 finger wide, that's about 1-to-1.
There you go. And, you know, and all the formulas that I've ever seen for figuring up your fat to protein ratio are based off of getting a calorie count from, you know, from one of those web calculators. And I have seen some of those. There are some things online that you can use to figure out your I was actually going to try to make a video on the fat to protein ratios and how much you technically need. But I think honestly, the easiest way to do it is as we've mentioned is, you know, eating till your body says it's enough, you know. It's not wrong if you want to try to figure it up. I feel like if you like to track and you like to figure up, you know, the portions of it, by all means do it. If that's, you know, what we say floats your goat, I mean, do it. But you know, as far as me, I haven't tracked. I don't like you mentioned earlier, I don't put that much effort into it. I don't think that far on to it. I just try to do my thing and let my body heal and signal me whenever it's ready. What about you? Have you actually tracked your meals and fat to protein at all?
I have never tracked anything. I glance at the steak or the roe and say that looks like about the right amount of fat. If I look at it before I cook it and think, that's a little light on fat, after I get done cooking it, I'll go, okay, I need about this much of a stick of butter. I'll hack myself off a half a stick of butter or however much I think, cut it up into little chunks, set it on top of the meat, let it melt for a couple of seconds, and then go to town on it. But I have never tracked anything.
That's what I'm talking about. And I'll add butter. I've added butter the whole time, but I add butter now, probably not even when I need it. And, you know, I mess myself up adding too much butter every once in a while. And that's how I know what butter does to you, but it tastes so good, you know?
Yeah. And that's the key to too much fat. Our liver makes the bile. And if you have a gallbladder, it stores it in the gallbladder. But whether you have a gallbladder or not, the amount of bile you have available to break down that fat, you'll know very quickly if you have gone past that amount, because once you run out of bile and add more fat into the system, it goes straight through you. And then you get to do the, shall we say, the clenched rear end butt waddle to the bathroom.
Yes.
In hope that you make it there, because it goes, you'll know immediately if you've eaten too much fat.
100%. I agree. Mama Lynette, Mama Bear asked, Bob, what part of Texas?
Extreme West Texas. I'm about 16 miles out in the desert from a town called Van Horn, which puts me about 97 miles straight east of El Paso.
Okay. Awesome. And so do you have family down there, or was it just like a place that you found some land, or
just a place where I found some land that I paid less than $1,000 an acre for it, and I got 10 acres of it. My closest neighbor is actually Jeff Bezos's launch pad for his space program. You can see it. It's about 2.5-3 miles to the northwest of my property. So when he does space launch, I'll be able to see those.
That's pretty cool, and that's the kind of neighbors we have here in South Carolina. Well, you know, on one side of the street here where I live, you got kind of rows of houses, but on the other side is, you know, basically one house is a whole bunch of woods for miles, and you know, you get to be off to yourself and have a little peace and quiet. So that's always good too, isn't it?
Yes, it's going to be very peaceful and very quiet out there.
Sometimes that's a blessing for sure. So you were talking about you got the event coming up in Omaha. Tell me a little bit about that, and tell everybody that if you don't mind, what all is going on in Omaha. Excuse me.
Well, on Thursday, I'm having my personal meetup at the miniature golf course I work at. We're going to get together about 2:00, and
Okay.
I'm going to grill burgers with charcoal, not gas. I'm grilling on charcoal. I'll be grilling burgers. We'll be playing miniature golf, and we'll just be hanging around chatting. And then Friday and Saturday is the Omaha Hard to Kill Summit. I can't tell you the entire guest list off the top of my head, but I know Two Crazy Ketos are going to be here. Chris and Marion Bear from Keto Chow are going to be here. One of the speakers is Dr. Chris Palmer, the Rope Brain Energy, and one of the guest speakers is going to be Dr. Rob Sivas. Other than that, I'd have to dig through all my notes and find it, but it should be a pretty good 3 days here in Omaha this weekend.
Oh yeah, I hope you guys have a great time, man. It's always fun hanging out. Some good speakers as well. Got so many people in the chat. Oh, look who got a question for you, Mr. Larry from Carnivore Quest. Hey, buddy. How many pounds of meat are you eating now a day, Bob? Bob? I heard it's a lot.
Between 2.5 and 3 pounds of meat a day. That's where I'm at. And like I said, if the roast that I bought comes in light, or the steaks that I bought come in light, I start scrambling eggs and just eat scrambled eggs till I'm full.
Absolutely. And I think that's probably not far from what I'm eating nowadays too. It's probably about 2 to 3. Like I said though, you get that urge every once in a while and you jump off on something else. So
I had a pound. If not to promote my channel on yours here, Sean, but if you tune
go ahead.
If you tune into tomorrow's video and watch all the way to the end, I actually made a whole pound of beef fat trimmings into air fried fat chunks, and they were so good. I ate a whole pound of air fried fat chunks with my food today. It was awesome.
That sounds pretty good.
It's like pork rinds only made out of beef fat. Because my butcher hasn't caught on that there are people that like that stuff. I still get, whenever I say I'm out, he'll say, okay, I'll get you some more. And the next day I go back over and he's got 5 pounds of beef fat trimmings waiting on me that he gives me for free.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, mine caught on real quick. I told him, whenever I bought the whole rib roast and had him cut it into steaks, I said, at first he was trimming the fat off of it because people want their steaks trimmed up. I said, hey, what are you doing? Don't trim the fat off my steak. That's the good part. I'm like, so he quit trimming. He's like, you want a whole one? I was like, yeah. He's like, don't trim the fat, right? I was like, no, don't. You taking the energy off of it, my friend. That's the good stuff. But yeah, absolutely. Oh, man. Yeah, everybody jump in there and see. I got your link in the description, Bob. Like, they're gonna be able to find you if you got something coming up, that you want to announce. You're more than welcome to do that here, my friend. Oh, I'm just scrolling through. Judy said, do you eat more? Do you eat once a day, and when?
I am primarily one meal a day, and it's usually sometime between 2 and 5 in the afternoon whenever I get hungry. Although I have found over the last several weeks, I sometimes have to go for a second meal of just 3 or 4 hamburger patties or 5 or 6 scrambled eggs, because when I was down in North Carolina, the time I was here and then I went down to North Carolina, I was just walking. But now I'm walking between 3 and 5 miles a day. I'm cutting my own grass. I'm doing all the other yard work. I'm going to the gym 4 days a week. 2 days a week, I walk as hard as I can in chest deep water. The other 2 days, I work out on a cable machine. I do squats twice a week. I do push-ups twice a week. I do several other body weight exercises around the house. And as just kind of a capper on Monday nights, I go to dance class. So I'm doing so much other stuff that I'm using energy out the wazoo. And some days I just get hungry. It's like, man, I need a little something. So when if I feel like I'm hungry enough that I need a little something, eat. I'll start off with like 4 hamburgers in the air fryer because I can cook them from frozen to ready in the air fryer in about 10 minutes. And then if I'm still hungry, I'll scramble up 3 or 4 or 5 eggs. And if I'm hungry enough to snack, I'm hungry enough to eat.
That's right. So what was the day of, do you remember the day of your heart attack?
I didn't actually I have never had a heart attack. I went to the doctor's office this back almost 6 years ago now. I went to the doctor because I wasn't feeling great. And he's like, well, here, let's try this. And he was convinced it was my blood pressure. So he changed one of my blood pressure drugs, and I tried it for a week, and it's like, Doc, I still don't feel really good. So he's like, well, a friend of mine's a cardiologist. Why don't we go see him just to see if anything's wrong? Because he put me on a 3-lead that he had in his office and didn't see anything. He's like, there's a little blip here that might be something, but it doesn't really look like much. But I want you to go see this cardiologist. So I went over to the cardiologist's office, and I got basically the same story there. He hooked me up to his big machine and got out the CT scanner and all that stuff. He's like, I'd really like to do an angiogram on you. It doesn't look like there's much, but it looks like you might have a bit of an occlusion in 1 or 2 of your arteries, but I can't see that well. But it doesn't look bad. And it's obviously not blocked because you walked into the office today. If it was blocked, you wouldn't be able to walk. So I said, well, and I can tell you it was early January because it was January the 1st. It was actually the next Friday because on whatever day of the week January 1st was, because he said, you want to get in this Friday and we'll get that done. And I said, well, I have tickets to see Ohio State play I think they were playing in the Sugar Bowl that year. And so I said, I want to go watch Ohio State play. He says, oh, no problem at all. I'll schedule you for the next Friday. So go have football, have fun, and I'll see you the next Friday. And so that would have been whatever day the Ohio State's bowl game was. It was the Friday after that. I went in, he put me into the angio lab, and I woke up in the ICU telling me I couldn't go home and they were going to do surgery on Monday because I apparently had 2 arteries that were 100% blocked and the third one that was 98% blocked.
Oh, wow.
All going to the same side of the heart. So I was basically 2% over from just falling over dead. But I never really had any symptoms except I just didn't quite feel right. And that's when the surgery was. They did it on a Monday. I left the hospital Friday morning, and that was that.
And now you are dancing and walking and like that.
Yeah, and I'm actually wearing the shirt that I'm wearing. This shirt, as you can see, it's way too big for me. It's got the heart on it. This is the shirt I got when I graduated from cardiac rehab. And I look back now, the only thing good about cardiac rehab was the little bit of exercises that they had us do, as opposed to most of the time was spent talking about nutrition. And all of the advice there was whole grains, lots of fruit, don't eat more than 2 eggs a week, don't eat red meat. And
the exact opposite.
The exact opposite of what we should be told. But of course, because it's a program that's run in the hospital by a dietitian, if you're going to be an actual licensed dietitian working in a hospital, you have to follow the tenets of the dietitian school means you're following the tenets of the Seventh-day Adventists, which means you're following the tenets of veganism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not doing that today, my friend.
No.
We got ground beef guy in there. Good to see you, buddy. Randy's been killing it this month, and his walking too. You know, you guys like hearing all the stuff that you're doing, and like, so how have the doctors, like, you've had, obviously, I'm sure you've had checkups and all since then, and have they mentioned anything about how good you're doing now in relation to how things looked back then?
My cardiologist is very pleased. I saw him about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and he took me off the final med that I was still taking. He said, you don't need that blood thinner anymore. Go ahead and discontinue that. My regular doctor, I haven't really talked to. I went in and got my so-called diabetes checkup, and he ran some labs, and I found out that my A1C, because they get the A1C back right away, and I found out that my A1C was still holding strong at 4.8, and my triglycerides were lower than my HDL.
Oh, wow.
So, and he said, well, let's talk about your LDL. I said, unless you're going to tell me how great it is, you probably just don't even want to talk to me, because I have printed out studies in my pocket where I'm going to prove to you you're a freaking moron. I actually used a bit stronger language than that. If all you want to talk about is LDL, then we don't really have anything else to talk about today. But thanks for doing my labs, pill pusher.
I love it. I love it. That ought to be inspiring. And that's a great message, because there's so many people out there that have asked me questions. There's the guy to ask right there. This man has experienced it. He's lived through it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he got the receipts too. So that's awesome to hear. That's an awesome testimony. And I'm glad you're telling it. I'm glad you're not just telling it, Bob, but I'm glad you're out there walking every day and showing everybody, you know, look, here's where I was 2% away from falling over, and look at me now walking 3 miles a day, walking with chest deep water. That ain't no joke. That's tough. All the things, and A1C's under, like, mine's 5.2, you know, and I don't know where you're started from, but I would love to be down. Yeah. So 10.3 to 4.8, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
mine has been holding steady. I got my first A1C check at the 6-month mark when it was 4.8 the first time. And this last check was just a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember exactly when I went. I've been so busy, but it's been a couple of weeks ago now. So 14-month mark to 6. So it's been holding 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it's been holding steady at 4.8 for 8 months.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. I love it. I love it. Let's see here. If you got any questions, you guys get them in. We'll answer a few more. Look, Dave's in here. What's up, brother? Good to see you. You got Carnivore Trucker, all our people addicted to antlers. Let's see here. Oh, Mama's got another one. Let's see. Bob, will you be at Ketopalooza this year in October? Would love to meet you in person.
I was planning on being at Ketopalooza. I had it in my book. I had the plans for it. And then I bought land in Texas. Ketopalooza was going to be a stop on my way southeast into the Carolinas for again this winter. Louisville is not on the way to Texas. So I will have to wait and see how much extra money I have, because the problem with going that far out of my way is that I have a really big old pickup truck. It gets about 10 or 11 miles to the gallon when I'm pulling my camper, as long as I'm going downhill with a tailwind. If I'm pulling it on flat ground against the wind, it gets about 6.5 to 7 miles a gallon. And I just can't afford to go 800 miles out of my way. I would love to come to Ketopalooza, and I may investigate flying out and back and then driving to Texas. I have to finish working on the schedule, because I have some friends who travel for a living. You've heard me talk about them before on my on my channel there, one adventure at a time. And it looks like they're going to be able to pass through West Texas about the second or third week of November. And I need to get down there before they arrive so that I know where I'm going to start construction, because they're going to be there to help me with the setting of the posts and the raising of the roof over top of my shipping container home. And so I need to get some preliminary work done before they get there, so that when they get there, we can do the work that they've said they would help me do. So I don't have it all worked out yet, but odds are at this point, I'm probably not going to make it to Ketopalooza, because flying there is just not in the budget. Unless everybody watching goes and subscribes to my YouTube channel, hits the join button at the top level and starts sending me all their money. But I really don't want you guys to do that. That's just, it's there if you want it, but I don't.
That's right.
I'm actually very happy with the little bit of money I make from YouTube. It's finally to the point where it's almost paying for itself by the time I pay for all the software and depreciate my cameras and my lights and all that stuff. As long as YouTube's paying for itself, I get so much out of meeting people online, talking to them and all that, that I'm not really hoping to make a pile of money off of this. Just all I ask is that it pays for itself.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree. I would agree. I'm the same way. Like I don't promote a lot of the stuff. I just got the first check and from YouTube last week, and I don't know if how many of you guys have seen the Dr. Berry interview where I gave the first bit of it away. And so the first check, the second check is probably going to be going towards that, getting those people into the group, as I made that promise to Dr. Berry, and I plan on fulfilling it just like I said. And so, as far as the same way, the software and the stuff, I've had to buy a new computer and things like that. So there's a lot of things that that goes into it, and I've definitely spent a lot more than that I've made or going to make for a while. But it'll all equal out, and people have been generous and donated things, and people still are, and there's ways to give, and we might have to pass the plate and take up a love offering to get you to Ketopalooza or something. Who knows? we'll have something going on. So many folks. Yeah, everybody hit the like button for me. I always forget that. Let's see. Hit the like, hit the share. I covered it at the beginning. But all you guys that came in afterwards, I appreciate you guys doing that. Just scanning through to make sure I didn't miss anything. Do you tire from eating the same food?
Not at all. I love hamburger. I love roasts, and the occasional steak makes it a really nice treat. But to be honest, I wouldn't even necessarily have to have the roasts and the steaks. I like ground beef, and there's enough different ways to cook that. Sometimes I'll cook it just as a loose pile of ground beef. Sometimes I'll make it into ham patties. And I never get tired of beef. I love beef. And that part of it may be that I know it's really good for me, but I just really like it, And some days I'll take a stick of butter and chop that up on top of it, and some days I won't. And it just, I could do ground beef and butter every day.
Oh yeah, I agree. And it's weird because when I started and did this, I never thought in a million years that I could, like the beef butter, bacon, and eggs challenge that started in Carnivore Quest a year ago a little over a year ago for me in June of last year. I thought 30 days by 30. If I can do 30 days, I can do, like you said, I can do 30 days of anything, that I put my mind to. So I'm like, maybe I can do 30 days of this. It turned into like, I feel so amazing. And now I literally crave it. Like if I don't have beef and eggs, that's all I want. If I have something else, great. I can get a meal out of it, but I want to get back to beef as quick as I can. Now it doesn't have to be, the top steaks, whatever. It can be whatever, but I can tell a difference when I'm eating that ruminant beef. And so, no, I want it more now than ever. for whatever reason. Oh, look at there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate the super chat. We appreciate you very much, and glad that we can help some way. And we're glad that you're here too. You guys are awesome too. I can't say it enough. I emphasize how great this community is and supportive and everything else. And so I appreciate you guys very much. So brother, tell them I got the link in the description, but the channel is yours to say where to find you, to give any information that you want to give. Tell them where they can find you, more information, hook up with you, all those things, and then I'll close this out, man. And
yeah, you can find me on YouTube at SemiRetiredBob. I have a Facebook group that is at SemiRetiredBob. I have an Instagram at SemiRetiredBob, but I very rarely use Instagram. Every once in a while, I'll remember to take a picture of my food, put it out there. Most of what I use Instagram for is when I'm scrolling through and find something that Dr. Barry or Dr. Chafee or Dr. Baker has posted on Instagram that I think people might miss otherwise. I'll post that up to my stories on Instagram. But I don't really use Instagram that much. And I have a Twitter as well. It's like semi_Bob. I never, ever use Twitter. Every once in a while, I'll go read the fights that Dr. Barry's getting in out there, or Dr. Baker, or one of those. Professor K gets in arguments on Twitter once in a while, and I'll go follow those threads a little bit when I'm really bored. But I don't really get bored enough to go to Twitter very often because, I'm doing all of the research that I have to do in order to build a house when I get to Texas. And there's a lot of learning to do there. So I don't have a lot of free time for that kind of stuff. But yeah, you can find me primarily on YouTube and on Facebook. I'm a moderator on Sean's group on Facebook. I try to comment as often as I can on Carnivore Quest's Facebook group. And there's a couple other Facebook groups that I follow, but I just lurk in the background because they don't really want to hear what I have to say.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you, brother. I'm thankful. I'm glad we got that finally hook up and you agreed to come on and do the show and chat for a little while. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for you, and you guys go check him out if you haven't already. Like the channel, jump in the Facebook group. If you can't tell by now, we're trying to work together to bring about the same process, to get the message out, to get the message across to people, to try in whatever way that we can to show the unity and help people. And I feel like the more we stick together, the more we hang out, the more we help each other, the better we can do that. And so I'm all about that. And I appreciate your time today. I wish you the best. I hope everything goes smoothly with the build coming up. I'm sure we'll talk before then, but I appreciate you, and you guys go check them out. I'll hit the super chat just because I just saw it right before it goes left. Thank you for all your help. Day 12 for me, and I'm feeling better, trying to keep the focus while learning as I go. Absolutely. I agree. That's what you got to do. Stay focused. Stay. Don't get distracted by all the voices out there. Find what your sweet spot and keep going with what's working for you. These people, it's great. You're going to get that good information. Listen, we're all still learning. There's not one of us that have it all figured out in every way, shape, or form at this point. And so we can keep going down this journey together and help each other out and share the answers when we find them. I'm proud of you guys. You putting in a lot of work and a lot of effort, and you're seeing some results. And if you're not, keep pushing forward, and they will come. So, Minimalist, good to see you too. You guys, go, like I said, like the video, share it, go hit him up on social, on Facebook and YouTube. Even get on the Instagram. We can support him on Instagram, so when he does peek in there, we can find him. And we'll see you guys next time. I appreciate y'all. Love you guys. Stay strong and keep pushing forward. We'll see y'all later.